Hi there and welcome to the Die House Drumworks YouTube channel. Going to have a little look here at some ideas, a little bit more intermediate kind of area, introducing, accenting and internal dynamics to some snare drum stickings. I think quite often when I speak to drummers about the kind of patterns and ideas that they like the sound of, or drummers that they like the playing of, quite often it seems to lead towards this idea of dynamic playing or dynamics within the groove. So things like ghosting and accenting are things that we listen to and find very musical, I think. So this is sort of an introduction to that kind of idea. I'm going to kick off here with the idea of using accenting within paradiddles. Paradiddles can sometimes be notated with and without accents. Either or, you've just got to use the accent where you feel it's getting you the result that you want. So basic standard paradiddle sticking, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. And what I'm going to do is add an accent at the beginning of each group. So we get with the standard paradiddle. One of the reasons that this works particularly well is that with the sticking we've got the double stroke before the accent with the other hand. So if we're going right, left, right, right, we've got that double right hand where the left hand can be raising, ready for its accent. And the technique that I'm going to use, I'm going to employ a little bit of the Moeller Technique in with this. And I'm not going to go into the Moeller Technique into too much depth here because it's a big subject, but I would recommend that if you like the look of this and you feel that you can get something out of it, look out for the work of people like Jim Chapin and Don Famularo, because those are two great educators who have really looked into this in extreme depth and collated a lot of different information. So they really are, I would say, the two guys, the go-to guys for that particular technique. So the idea that I'm going to employ is the idea of a downstroke. Now with the accent, what we're going to try and do, instead of just trying to hit the drum hard and playing from the wrist quite stiffly here, we want to try and use a curly wrist motion into the accent. So lead with the wrist first and throw the stick down into the pad or onto the drum. Okay, so here's what that would look like with the standard paradiddle. So it's a very efficient and natural movement to gain a strong accented stroke. When it comes to paradiddles, there's a lot of variations, and again they're basically in their simplest form a snare drum rudiment. So trying to explain to students why paradiddles are good to learn. Well, the paradiddle in itself on the snare drum will sound more or less, if we're playing like a standard paradiddle or an inverted paradiddle, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, another sticking, is it's going to sound more or less like playing single stroke 16ths with an accent at the beginning of each group of four. But where the paradiddle comes into its own against using single strokes is when we, for me anyway, is where we split the two hands between two different sounds. Now this might be ride cymbal and snare, or hi-hats and snare, or tom and snare, or between two toms. Obviously I haven't got the kit here, but what I'm going to do is actually just basically, let's look at a standard paradiddle again, and I'm going to put it between two different sounds. So I'm going to use the shoulder of the stick against the edge of the pad there, and then the left hand stick with the tip on the main part of the pad. So here's what a paradiddle would sound that way. All of a sudden you can hear the sticking actually coming out of the paradiddle a little bit more. So it becomes something that's more creative and sort of musically usable. So it sort of validates the development of the paradiddle as a snare drum exercise. The inverted paradiddle. This is a favourite of mine. Right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left. It's a favourite of mine to put across the kit. I think it sounds a little bit funkier than the standard paradiddle. So again, using the two different sounds. That really gets cooking when you get some pedal movements against it on the kit, so I'll have to do a video with some of those bits in. So Yeah, accenting. So really, say in basic stickings that you're going to get sort of in exams, things like triplets is another classic Moeller sort of exercise to do. If we're playing single stroke triplets, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, dropping an accent on the beginning of each triplet, using that curly wrist. Great way of gaining pace and musicality in triplets. So although I'm playing, as I play quicker, that wrist movement's shallower, but it's still there. So when we play slower, it's a good practice to exaggerate that movement. So it's just a little bit on accenting and how to achieve good accenting. One thing that we don't want to do with accents is force the note too much. I do get a lot of students, when they try and play loudly or with a little bit more power, that's when the tension starts coming into the way that they play. So if you can just, even if you're playing basic 8th note sort of rock patterns, and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, on that 2 and 4, try and get a little bit of that wrist motion. So leading with that curly wrist rather than coming down flat onto the drum. You can see the tension that that creates. It's not good for the wrist, and you don't get a very nice sound out of the drum either. Curly wrist motions. So if you can get started with that, it's a great introduction to the Moeller technique, and then you can, let's say if you find that you're getting some mileage out of that through those kind of exercises, look for Don Famularo, Jim Chapin on the internet, look at their videos, and they'll take you through more of that kind of technique. So good luck with that. I hope that's been useful.